Jesus freak here. I guess I've been on about a roll lately since I'm talking about this basic idea a bit with current events. So, I've mentioned in the past I'm opposed to Christian nationalism. And some people might be like, if you're a Christian, why don't you want it to be explicitly the law of the land? The first problem is, when you have a state church, they're the only proper church for the country. Guess what happens to Christians who aren't part of this state church? It's right, persecution. And guess what? If there's going to be a state church in 2020's America, it'd be the New Apostolic Reformation, which is as close as we got right now, with Paula White Cain being the president's spiritual advisor. Guess what? I'm not New Apostolic Reformation. I'm United Methodist. I often quote a phrase from John 18:36. My kingdom is not of this world. That Jesus says to Pilate. There's also a passage in 1 Corinthians 5 that might apply to my stance, and that is, for what have I to do to judge them that also that are without? Do not you judge them that are within, but them that are without God judgeth. Basically to say, police your own. God will handle everyone else. And that's basically my stance. That outside of those over whom I have authority, obviously I don't have authority. There's some basic morality that I hold to that I think is pretty much universal. Beyond that, I'm not going to legislate my faith on anyone. That's between themselves and God. Like Paul said, do you have faith? Have it to yourself before God. Get the whole verse. I think it's somewhere in Romans. But it's a common thing. It's Romans 14:22. Hast thou faith? have it to thyself before God. Happy is he that condemneth not himself in that thing which he alloweth. And I'm like, we all have different moral codes, even within Christianity. And I think, apart from basic societal things like don't kill, don't steal, don't... stuff like that, I'm like, that's none of my business outside of that. I can opine on that, sure. And I frequently do. Outside of that, my attitude is, if at most the only person you're hurting is yourself, what business is it of mine? What business is it of anyone else's? That makes me reasonably libertarian. However, here's the rub. I also believe that the right thing to do, in general, is to help those who are downtrodden. And yes, that's informed by my faith. But that's not restricting people because of my faith. You might say, oh, well, you got to pay for a social safety net with taxes. Frankly, taxes are a cost of living in a society. What are you going to do? Live out in the middle of nowhere off the grid with no contact with the outside world? The Jews had an income tax to support the Levites because the Levites weren't allowed to hold normal jobs. Also, there was mention of, leaving a little stuff when you harvest your field for the poor. And I feel like, that was the 8th, 9th, 10th century BC version of a social safety net. In 2025, I think we can do a bit better than that. We have to, do it a bit differently. You just want a social safety net because you can't get work. I mean, it's part of it. But I can't get work it's not because I'm lazy. It's because there's actually something wrong with me. Actually, a few things wrong with me, and no one wants to hire me because of it. And I'm like, the way we humiliate people when all they need is help. Because we want to go out of our way to say, they don't deserve it. I don't think that's right. But there's a saying, for every problem there's a solution that's simple, quick, easy, and totally wrong. A lot of people are going to jump on that conclusion. They're going to jump on the wrong solution because it's easier. Frankly, it's human nature to be lazy and greedy. It's the downfall of a society when no one wants to participate in it. Except, what they can get out of it. Like, I baked this pie all by myself. I kept asking for help. You didn't want any of this help. But now, now that it's done, you're all on me to give it. And I give you some. Get out of here. Jesus, freak out.